And joining our studio panel now is one of those protesters, University of East Anglia lecturer and Green Party activist Rupert Read. Welcome to you, Rupert. You've been on this protest, this rebellion. Is this the right thing to do, though, to disrupt the centre of London? I mean, shouldn't it be better to use democracy to, for example, tell people to go out and vote next week in the local elections on certain issues?
Well, could I just start by saying that it was actually me who persuaded Etienne to put himself forward for potential arrest the other day, and I'm very proud of him, a hero from London 2012, one of 1,100 people who've put themselves on the line to bump the issue of climate and the ecological emergency more generally way up the political agenda. Such success we've had. William Hague coming out and saying...
Is that a success then, getting lots of people, more than 1,000 people arrested?
Look, what we've done is we've totally transformed the public perception of this issue. An opinion poll out today says that over 60% of the British population now agree with our aims, and our aims are extremely radical. In terms of the local elections, of course, I'm still saying to everybody, vote Green, and we're very hopeful of making gains in these elections, for example, in Suffolk, also in Peterborough. But it's clear that the democratic system, the representative governmental system as we have it, is not really moving fast enough. So I think it's totally legitimate to resort to civil disobedience as well to try to concentrate minds, and that's what's happening.
Vicky Ford, do you think the government are taking an awful lot of notice of this and changing things and doing more?
So first of all, climate change is a real threat, and I completely agree that there needs to be urgent action. What I do think we need to remind people is actually the huge journey that we are on already and what's been happening in the UK, where actually we've been cutting our emissions faster than any other developed country. We're the leader. We're leader in the world in offshore wind, for example. There's much more that we need to do, but we also need to work with the whole of the world. The UK's bidding to bring the world together here in London next year for the next global congress on this, and I want to make sure that other people from around the world want to see a London that's welcoming them and not a London that has people super glued to the tubes. So yes, I agree with your message, but not the means, Rupert.
Beth Miller, is direct action the right way to get this issue right up there on the agenda, do you think, or not?
From my perspective, I 100% wholeheartedly agree with the objectives of what the organisation's trying to do. The three objectives they got, I think, are totally reasonable, and I think there has been a delay in making a lot of the progress that people want to see. I haven't always agreed with all of the means, so I think direct action is useful. It's driven up the agenda massively. People are talking about it. We were, friends and I talk about it. I try to reduce my plastic use and all the things I probably might not necessarily have done so much before. However, I think the next stage for the campaign now has to be about how do you reach out beyond the people that already support you to the middle of the road voter, and that's the big challenge. How do you convert people who probably believe in it but actually get a bit frustrated by what you're doing at the moment?
Do you think that's the case, Sal Brinton, that some people will look at these kind of protests and think, we wouldn't want to get arrested, we don't want anything to do with something like that?
But people don't have to actually do that. The key thing is making everybody understand that whilst a lot of it needs to happen at government and at council level, every single one of us needs to change the way that we're doing things. And, Vicky, there is no doubt that the government in this country over the last few years has moved us forward. But in 2015, for your government to get rid of the Green Investment Bank, to remove subsidies for solar power, just demonstrated that your heart is not in it.
And you mentioned wind. You got rid of onshore wind, and you claim that your emissions are going down, but that's fake, because you exclude air travel, you exclude shipping, and you exclude emissions in products from the figures. So actually, it's just not true. Excuse me, let me finish. Actually, it's just not true that Britain is a leader on climate, and that's why we're here. We're here to tell the truth. We're here to tell the truth that if we don't get our act together on this, we're facing an existential crisis. Right?
But to meet some of these demands would require a really radical change
of
the way we live, wouldn't it?
It would require a very significant change in the way we live. It's not going to mean just, electric cars and everything being nice and the same as it is.
I mean, things like no air travel at all, that kind of thing.
No, it's not no air travel at all. Don't put words in our mouths. It would be a significant reduction in air travel, Remember that the overwhelming majority of air travel is undertaken by the super rich. And if we carry on having more and more air travel, there's no future. Game over. Right? This is absolutely serious now, and it's lovely to hear the other panellists here saying, well, that we agree with most of what you're saying in terms of what you want the objectives to be, but it's only because these radical means have been taken that we're actually having this conversation at all. We can vote Green in the election, and we can actually get the right policies in which are actually seriously aligned with what we now need.
So I do object to
becoming a much bigger issue at the agenda, though, isn't it?
I do object to being accused of telling untruths.
Well, then don't
on
do
a
it.
like-for-like basis, the UK has done more than any other developed
False,
country.
when you include air and shipping and embodied emissions.
There is more that needs to be done
Simply
on
false.
aircraft, on shipping, where actually the UK is leading the world now to bring the world together on shipping, because ships go from one country to another, and leading that challenge. And that absolutely needs to be, continue to be, the work that we're doing. And I absolutely agree with what Sal has said about bringing members of the public together. And actually, I agree with what you've just said about reducing our plastic footprint as well. This year I got 48 Conservative MPs to take on an environmental
Vicky Ford,
challenge.
just
And
yes or no, when the government
we
see
must do
this kind of protest, does it make a difference to how climate change is dealt with?
We understand.
Does it
that
make a
this is
difference to people like
so
Michael
it
Gove?
makes
Does he see that and
what I
think we've got to do even more?
What I think does make a real difference is when we hear young people, when we hear people in our communities say, what are we doing, what more can we do together? I am concerned that we need to make sure that we continue having the global leadership on this, and that means making sure that London continues to be a place that people from across the world want to come together and talk and find solutions,
Then change your
and not
policy.
just find the protest.
Well,
Change your
have to leave
policies
it-
and it'll be all fine.
We'll just leave it
we'll
there
stop
for a
this rebellion
moment.
now if the policies get changed.
Well, we'll leave that there for now. But as we've